Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings as we do already have some preliminary yellow warnings issued, as we are going to see a bit of a southeasterly wind develop as we head through this working week. We thought initially a few days ago it could be more of a colder easterly, but it was kind of a 50-50 between a milder wet southeasterly or a drier colder easterly. It's now looking likely, as said, to be more of a southeasterly with lots of areas of rain moving up as we see some quite big temperature collisions over the UK and low pressures getting trapped and sort of milling around as we've got that blocking area of high pressure towards Scandinavia, and it could cause a lot of rainfall, and that is why we already have, as said, a preliminary yellow weather warning issued for much of the second half of the working week for some areas in Scotland, especially those areas that saw some very heavy rainfall about 10 days ago now. So yeah, got warnings issued, and we'll have a look at the latest from the UKV, looking at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, seeing how all that rainfall will move in from probably around Wednesday time in the south, and probably Wednesday night into Thursday further northwards. We'll also have a look at the longer range of the GFS, ECMWF, and the Ensemble to see what the rest of October has in store. Remember yesterday's video, GFS had a crazy storm for Halloween. Now today we're still seeing more of that westerly influence, not as much of an extreme run, but definitely seeing perhaps more of a westerly influence, but still blocking areas of high pressure, milling around, which does put a lot of uncertainty into the forecast, as we're quite unsure exactly where that wind direction will be coming from and what sort of meandering the jet stream will be doing. So we'll check that out in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, to start on the live radar, you can see that we have got fewer showers than we saw yesterday, as that northerly wind is starting to get cut off. Less of these showers in the north are turning wintry now, as the air mass is slowly losing its intensity, and of course the showers are lesser in terms of intensity as well, which means the freezing level doesn't drop as low. But it has been a very cold day, the coldest day we've had in many months, back until earlier in the spring, with widely temperatures around that 9, 10 or 11 degree mark today. A couple of areas maybe 12 or 13 right along the south coast or down into the southwest, but most areas really struggling today, and the coldest day in a long while. And tonight could be a very cold night, even colder than last night, where we did see temperatures drop below freezing in all countries in the British Isles, with temperatures as low as -3 or -4 in Scotland. And today, those temperatures could be even more widespread. Those low temperatures could be very widespread, as we see clear skies and that cold air mass now established. Luckily, though, if you don't like the cold weather from tomorrow, it will be nudging upwards, maybe a 13 or 14 degree tomorrow, and frost will become less likely as we see the cloud and the rain start to push in from around Tuesday, Wednesday time. Now, if you put on the temperatures, as around 4:30, you can see lots of blues here, especially further north in Scotland, because it's not quite as cold as it was yesterday. But the overall picture is colder than yesterday. It was very little in terms of sort of solid yellow. Some patches of yellows, but lots of blues developing. Again, temperatures in the mid to high single digits, maybe just about touching 10 or 11 degrees. Now, if you go over to the weather warnings, you can see we have this yellow rain warning issued for eastern Scotland that does start 6 a.m. on Thursday until midnight on Saturday night. It's a preliminary warning pushed well in ahead, and I'm surprised to see this, as with the sort of model pattern we're going to be seeing this working week, there is a lot of uncertainty in areas of rainfall. So it just shows you the potential that is there, that the Met Office has issued this early of a warning. Again, it definitely will have the heavy rain we saw about a week to 10 days ago now influencing this, with dirt completely saturating the ground, giving big rise to river levels. If we saw a similar event to that, then things could be even more severe. So I do think that's why we've got this warning issued already, and you can see there is a chance of extremely heavy rain from Thursday to Saturday, causing flooding and disruption across central and eastern Scotland. As it states here, whilst there is still significant uncertainty in the timing and duration of rain during the second half of the coming week, there is the potential for disruptive, heavy and prolonged rainfall to affect central and eastern Scotland. Remember, it's not just these areas. Elsewhere is going to see some very heavy rain as well, but these could be the most prone areas for flooding, because of the amount of rainfall that has fallen recently. The heaviest rainfall is more likely over Angus and southeast Grampian, although even lower lying areas could see unusually heavy rain during this period. Strong southeasterly winds are likely to accompany the heavy rain, which may exacerbate effects. Already the highest impact level on the warning impact matrix, which means if that certainty does increase, which is pretty likely as we head through this week, we could see another amber warning issued and even the low chance of a red warning issued for this system. If that rainfall does continue to show on the latest runs, then yeah, there could be even a red warning issued for rain later this week, so you need to keep a very close eye on it. Now, if you go over to the UKV and have a look at the latest precipitation and temperature over the next 5 days, again, this run is used quite significantly when we are looking, when the Met Office do issue their weather warnings. UKV is their own run, or one of their own models, probably their high resolution model, and it does have great influence over those weather warnings. So we're very interested to see what this 3 o'clock run was showing. You can see wintry showers early this morning getting cut off. And as we head through this afternoon, you can see things do turn a bit drier. Still clear skies further eastwards, but a little bit of cloud building in. But it still will allow those temperatures to drop tonight. Could see a frost in places, as I said. Into tomorrow, a very dry day, but still lots of cloud coming in as the high pressure topples over us and kind of traps the air over the top of us. It will keep it relatively cold, but slightly milder as that air mass starts to nudge up. We're still at the time of year where those sort of temperatures, low to mid single digits, is very, very difficult to sustain because the sun is still relatively strong. We still have residual warmth within the atmosphere. But as we head through Monday into Tuesday, you can start to see rain move up from the south, and this is the first signs of those southeasterly winds arriving and low pressure moving in. Initially heavy rain across the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, and then more widespread rain spreads into Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales and much of England through Wednesday afternoon, and it continues to bring a barrage of rainfall all the way into Thursday, and then more significant rain into Friday as well. And you can see the UKV doesn't really go much into that weather warning period, only until around Friday morning. So Met Office, very interestingly, giving a warning of sort of mid-range model output, which is quite unlike them. So very interesting seeing that. Just shows you the potential for rainfall, significant rainfall later this week. But you can see the heavy rain here by the early hours of Friday spiralling in, and it's because we have low pressure parked around us, these very strong southeasterly winds, low pressure getting blocked by this high pressure out to our northeast. You can see the big Scandinavian high off to our northeast, holding these low pressures, stopping them moving in, essentially trapping all the rain on top of us, and just continuing to bring very heavy rainfall. And you can see pretty mild wedge of air gets pushed in. You can see the very cold air is, where the relatively cold air is, just to our northeast, and we're trapped where that temperature contrast does collide, bringing very heavy rainfall. Now, the fortunate thing about southeasterly wind, it will mean temperatures in the south, especially where we see some drier periods, could actually be a little bit better. Could return to mid to high teens potentially. Now you can see today struggling around that 9 to 11 degree mark, and overnight tonight once again could see quite a widespread frost in places where we maintain those clear skies. But again, uncertainty exactly where we maintain those clear skies. You can see much of England, Wales and Scotland temperatures dropping down to 2 to 4 degrees quite widely again. High resolution, if we had this, as I said, high resolution, most likely getting down a little bit lower than that in some areas. So again, could be a widespread frost, all dependent on those cloud amounts, which again can change at very short notice. Into tomorrow afternoon, it's slightly milder, maybe 11 or 12 degrees, but still pretty fresh, pretty cold. And as we head into Monday night, temperatures dropping away in the north, but not dropping away anywhere near as much in the south. So a frost in northern England and Scotland, but further southwards 6 to as high as 10 degrees as cloud pushes in. And look at that, in the afternoon, 13, 14 degrees, so starting to rise. But this is when the rainfall starts to move in. And you can see by Wednesday, again, 12 to maybe 16 degrees, but again, colder temperatures are primarily down to the cloud and rain moving in. And you can see as we head into Thursday, temperatures not dropping low at all overnight. Thursday afternoon could see 15 to 17 degrees across the south as we see milder air move in, but remember, it is going to feel pretty miserable under the rain. And then again, into Friday, still very mild actually, but lots of heavy rain moving in, keeping it really quite miserable. So you can see, yeah, this upcoming week isn't going to be great. Maybe Monday, Tuesday will be relatively dry, but pretty cold. Will turn milder towards the second half of the working week, but could be incredibly unsettled with lots of heavy rain with that southeasterly wind arriving. Now, if you look at the latest GFS, you can see the northerly wind is getting cut off now, and high pressure is toppling, and that's going to give us a drier and relatively cold weather over the next day or two. Eventually, that high pressure builds to our northeast, and look at that southeasterly wind arriving, and low pressure getting squeezed in off the Atlantic and sort of getting stalled over the top of us. And you can see this very strong easterly wind is trying to push in, but it's colliding with these lows, and the lows just get trapped with nowhere to go except just parked over the top of us, giving extremely heavy rainfall. Beyond that, eventually we do actually see a bit of an easterly wind move in for Scotland, for eventually that Scandinavian high breaks apart into the longer term, and then we go into more of an unsettled westerly flow. And this is where the GFS yesterday produced a big storm instead, just more of a general westerly flow, keeping us unsettled, but nothing too crazy. I do want to go back and have a look at the accumulated precipitation though, see how much rain the GFS is showing for the next week or so. You can see heavy rain moving in and then accumulating significantly over the weekend, and you can see there across eastern Scotland it has got a bit of a bullseye. Again, many areas seeing multiple inches of rain, but here seeing well in excess of 3 or 4 inches, up towards 100 millimetres or more. Again, that would have probably contributed to that latest that latest UK Met Office weather warning. Again, just loads of persistent rain all the way between Thursday towards Saturday. Really quite horrible conditions. Now, do look at the latest GM. Again, high pressure toppling, seeing that southeasterly wind arrive with trapped low pressure system with very strong easterly wind trying to push in. Will give very horrible conditions further northwards, and eventually that low moves away by maybe next Monday or Tuesday, so it hangs around for a good 5 days, and then we go into a very unsettled westerly flow. So very similar to the GFS, remarkably similar actually towards day 10, just showing you that it could be really quite horrible. This is what blocking patterns can do. We could have seen a very cold easterly with drier, fresher, frosty conditions, but equally with that shift in high pressure slightly further north and eastwards, allowing the low to get trapped over the top of us off the Atlantic. It means it's going to be very unsettled instead. Just showing you, as I said, the trouble of these blocking highs and sort of headaches they can cause. Now, if you look at the latest ECMWF, again, the high pressure toppling over, southeasterly winds arrive, and then very unsettled low pressure systems arrive, giving lots of heavy rain all the way into the weekend. Again, very similar to the other two runs. Real good, strong cross-model consensus today. And by day 10, a very strong westerly, stormy flow is moving in off the Atlantic. And again, if we do look at the accumulated precipitation, you can see another ridiculous amount of rainfall falling in these areas across eastern Scotland. 200 millimetres of rain falling. That's 8 inches of rainfall. And again, that won't all be falling through the yellow warning, but you can see through Friday in towards Saturday, potentially as much as 150 millimetres, maybe as high as 180 millimetres of that could be falling. So again, that's probably why that yellow warning has been issued. Could see yellow warnings elsewhere looking at the state of this. Amber warnings looking quite likely, I would say, actually, if this sort of model pattern continues. And the small chance of a red warning if this does get even more severe and more bang on, which will only come with more runs and more time. If we do finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see the shift in the latest GFS ensembles. You can see cold at the moment turning milder. We're not seeing many cold runs anymore. They're more just cool runs, average to slightly below average air masses, especially as we head towards sort of next Friday to Sunday, as eventually that fresher easterly does start to nudge southwards. But you can see there was a little bit of a gap here with minimal precipitation yesterday, but here it's been filled in and we're seeing a lot more rainfall. So the biggest change today is a lot more rainfall, and those upper air temperatures are slightly warmer, but still will be pretty cold, with those temperatures being pretty miserable at times. Lots of persistent rain into the longer term, with temperatures average to below average, so a cool, unsettled pattern. And you see the 2 metre temperatures are going to suffer. Could see a 16, 17 degrees later this week. We see a briefly dry weather in the south, but beyond that, we're looking at low teens, maybe only 9 or 10 degrees come next weekend, where we see more heavy rainfall spiral in. And if you compare it to the ECMWF, again, looking pretty horrible, very similar, more towards average upper air temperatures in the longer term, but very similar over the next week or so, with lots of heavy rain and no real respite at all. And if you compare it to Glasgow, for example, again, not in the yellow warning, but again, very close to the yellow warning, and most likely will have pretty similar impacts. You can see even more rainfall falling here with some huge precipitation spikes, very consistent as well, just showing the amount of unsettled weather that there's going to be as we progress through this upcoming working week. So unfortunately, yes, it's not looking particularly great, looking very autumnal, very stormy, very unsettled. Could be some potentially very strong winds around as well, but again, we'll pinpoint that nearer the time as the pattern completely evolves. But at this stage, we're looking like we're going to see a lot of heavy rain, and there could even be disruptive rainfall as we see that southeasterly wind arrive with just weather front after weather front, disturbance after disturbance, as that low pressure just mills over the top of us. So yes, not looking great. If you do need some dry weather, you want to get outside, do it in the next couple of days, because from around Wednesday time, we could be seeing a lot of washout days for the foreseeable future. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.